Welcome to the Legacy Podcast, making our Sustainable Development Goals (SDGs) more famous for action. Think of responsible consumption and production (SDGs 12) not as a list of rules about what you can't buy, as a kitchen management plan for the entire or our entire planet. Imagine the earth is a big shared kitchen. For a long time, we have been acting like teenagers with a credit card. We buy way more food that we can eat. We leave the gas running even when we are not cooking. And when we are done, we just throw the dirty dishes and the leftovers in a giant pile in the backyard. Eventually, the backyard fills up. The credit card hits its limit, that is resource scarcity, and the kitchen gets too hot and messy to live in. I am your host, United Nations Mama, and I'm so glad you are here today. Today's legacy will be to talk about the 12th Sustainable Development Goal, the Sustainable Consumption and Production Goal, for you to grab your knowledge, discover your role, and do your action. Localizing our Sustainable Development Goal 12 is the common sense of making sure that nothing goes to waste. That is the food waste. We don't throw away a third of our groceries before they even hit the table. We buy what we need and use what we have. It's also the common sense of making sure that the dishes are reusable. That is a circular economy. We stop using paper plates that we throw away after one bite. We switch to a durable one, things that can be washed, fixed, and used for many years. It's also the common sense of making sure that the ingredients are clean, that is safe production. We make sure that farms and factories providing our foodstuffs are not dumping poison into our water supply just to make a quick or some dollars. It feels like global supply chains are too big to change, but really it's just about power. Every time you spend $1, you are voting for how the kitchen should be run. It is a shift from being a consumer, someone who just uses things up, to being a steward, someone who takes care of things. You have to look at it this way. These are Sustainable Development Goal 12, Sustainable Consumption and Production Goal, as the conscience of our global economy, the bridge between the extraction of the earth's gifts and the waste we leave behind. The global gap in consumption is perhaps the most staggering statistics of our time. If every person on earth lived like the average resident of a high-income nation, we will need 3.9 of the earth to sustain us. Currently, we are mining the future to pay for the luxuries of the present. So United Nations Mama is defining this as a crisis of design, not desire. For a century, our industry successes was measured by how fast we can turn a raw material into a product and then into a landfill. This take-make-waste model was a biological dead end. So we have to shift from being owners of things to being stewards of materials. It's about realizing that there's no such thing as away. When you throw things away, everything stays within the thin envelope of our atmosphere, your atmosphere. It comes back to either the food you eat, the water you drink, and so on. So your action priorities towards our Sustainable Development Goal 12, Sustainable Cities and Community, could stem from the overwhelming scale of global supply chain. When you feel like a single plastic straw or a single fast fashion shirt does not matter, You can solve this from moving from passive consumerism to active stewardship. Localizing our sustainable development goals to our responsible consumption and production means moving from being a user to a life cycle manager, that is demanding that every product you touch has a certificate or ethical sourcing and also a rebate plan, that is a recycling or composting plan. It's about finding joy in quality over quantity and utility over possession. As we have reached some point in this our 21st century, the global conversation has shifted from recycling to resource security. We are no longer just trying to manage waste. We are redesigning the very concept of ownership. The global gap in our sustainable development goals of responsible consumption and production is the distance between our biological needs and our industrial speed. For decades, we have operated on a fast-forward economy. Products were designed to break, and success was measured by how quickly we could extract, sell, and discard or throw away. In 2026, the global supply chain is under immense pressure from material scarcity and geopolitical shifts. We have reached a point where responsible production is no longer a moral choice, it is a survival strategy. Responsible consumption is not about doing without, it's about doing better with what we already have. It's a transition from being a passive consumer of a product to being a steward of a material. Imagine if every phone you bought was not a piece of trash in waiting, but a collection of rare minerals that you were leasing from the earth to be returned and reborn into the next generation of technology. So your action priorities towards our sustainable development goals of responsible consumption and production could occur when you think you are too small to stop the tide of plastic and carbon. You can solve this by realizing that the market is a mirror. It reflects our collective demand. When we stop buying disposable and start demanding durable, the entire industrial machine is forced to pivot to submit to this our demand. So localizing our sustainable development goal 12 means moving from a throwaway culture where we value the history, the labor, and the future potential of every object we touch. We have to move away from this throwaway culture to the culture of value of every single factor of that production. Your awareness action gap towards the SDGs 12 responsible consumption and production closes when you realize that you don't need more to be more. We have been sold the dream of infinite consumption on a finite planet, a dream that is now waking us up to the reality of scarcity. So until the United Nations Mama is making you believe that responsible consumption is the ultimate expression of freedom, is the freedom we seek from death, the freedom from the guilt of destruction. So when we close this loop, we are not limiting ourselves, we are liberating our future. So we have to commit to a lifestyle where our consumption is a form of creation, realizing that our worth is not measured by what we take from the system, but by the cycle of life we help sustain. So you have to grab your knowledge, discover your role, and do your action. Because the most valuable thing you can ever consume is the satisfaction of knowing you are leaving the world better than you found it or you met it. Moving on ahead to the official targets created by the United Nations, breaking down the United Nations plan or reason for creating the responsible consumption and production goal. To help solve your action priorities towards this goal, you must understand what the UN actually mean meant when this goal was created and accepted by all nations. Target 12.1 is about the implementation of a 10-year framework on sustainable consumption and production. That is all countries taking action, with developed countries taking the lead to support a global shift in how we make and use our goods, mandating that developed nations lead the shift towards sustainable patterns by providing a roadmap for global policy on production and consumption. Target 12.2 is about sustainable management and efficient use of our natural resources by 2030. That is achieving the sustainable management and efficient use of our planet's limited resources, ensuring we don't take more than our planet Earth can regrow. Imagine when we are just feeding off from our planet, and we are not even watching to see if it can give that back to us again and again. We are just taking, is this when it finishes, or our resources finishes, that is when our eyes will open to know that we could have been handling it in a more efficient and sustainable way. Target 12.3 is about halving global per capita food waste, reducing food loss along production and supply chain, including our post-harvest losses, and halving waste at the retail levels and consumer levels. That is, at all levels of production, our food loss should be reduced drastically. Target 12.4 is about environmentally sound management of chemicals and waste, reducing the release of chemicals to our air, water, and soil to minimize their adverse impacts on our own human health and our environment. If we don't look into the release of our chemicals or our food or production process waste into the environment, our air, water, it will come back to us and it will harm us in every way possible. So we need to look into it before it becomes a problem too big to manage. Target 12.5 is about reducing our waste generation, moving through the hierarchy of prevention, reduction, recycling, and reusing. So in every process of generating waste, it should be either be prevented, reduced, recycled. Those are waste, or these are waste, can come through the process of these four: prevention, reduction, recycling, and reusing. Target 12.6 is about encouraging companies to adopt sustainable practices, specifically urging large and transnational companies to integrate sustainability information into their reporting cycle or their production cycle. Every nation, every production company should by now or before 2030 adapt to sustainable practices in their production. Target 12.7 is about promoting sustainable public procurement practices. That is, ensuring that governments use their massive buying power to purchase green and ethical goods, or even you as a private individual. Target 12.8 is about ensuring that people everywhere have the relevant information they need, providing the tools and the awareness for sustainable development and lifestyles in harmony with nature, in harmony with our natural resources, our natural gifts, and so on. Not just information that is innovative or tech-like and we forget our natural use of things or ways. No. So, our natural information or for a sustainable lifestyle or development should be available. Also, the tools to access those relevant information. Because when people don't know, they may be forced to just go into the most popular way, maybe that production is being practiced, especially maybe that way earns money more, but the production pattern is very not good at all. So people tend to choose the money they gain over making it sustainable or less harmful to the people consuming it. Target 12.A, 12.B, and 12.C are the implementation targets, like supporting developing countries' scientific and technological capacity, helping nations move directly to sustainable patterns of consumption, developing and implementing tools to monitor sustainable tourism, ensuring that travel creates jobs and promotes our local culture without destroying our environment. Also, rationalizing inefficient fossil fuel subsidies, removing the financial incentives that make dirty energy artificially cheap while protecting the poor or the poor masses or the average masses. So you have grabbed on your knowledge a little bit of what responsible consumption and production is all about. Now the case study for this legacy responsible consumption and production is what is called the Interface Mission Zero. This happened in USA. What was the problem? Interface, one of the world's largest carpet tile manufacturers, was a classic petroleum to landfill company. In 1994, their founder realized that their industry model was plundering the earth. What was the solution? They launched Mission Zero, what is called Mission Zero, a commitment to eliminate any negative impact the company has on the environment. So they created the re-entry program to take back old carpets, also their own and their competitors' own, and turn them into new ones. They also designed entropy tiles, that is, the new patterns was inspired by the forest floor that allow individual tiles to be replaced without replacing the whole floor, drastically reducing the waste. So what was the result? There was waste reduction. They reduced waste to landfills by 91%. There was also economic success. They proved that sustainability is a competitive advantage, increasing their profits while decreasing their footprint. What is the lesson for you? Industry does not have to be an enemy of nature. Get this, get this, get this. While we are so concerned on nature and protecting our earth, natural resources and natural ways things are done, we should not think that innovation and industry are the enemies to mankind or nature itself. But we have to start thinking like an ecosystem. A factory can become a restorative force. Yes, a restorative force both for the nature and for the people. So now that you have grabbed your knowledge, you have to know your action. irrespective of who you are, where you are. These actions are what you can take both immediately and what you can also keep on practicing to make a sustainable change. You can start to, before buying any non-essential item, wait up to 24 hours. Most desires fade. Yes, preventing impulse waste. That is, you just wake up today, you just wake up this morning or afternoon or evening, and you decide, and you just, about 3 or 4 things cross your mind that you need. It's better you calm down, wait some time or some hours or days and see if that need is really a need, or if that desire is really consistent. Most of how we feel that we want to do or what we want to have eventually fades and we want new ones. So when you go and get that thing that you want immediately, you might end up consuming it in an irresponsible way, or you might end up trashing it and looking for a new one. So wait for some time in order to minimize waste. Start a kitchen scrap bin. Food in landfills creates methane. Food in compost creates life. So you can start composting your waste. Instead of just waiting for it to remain in the trash can somewhere. It's much harder to even maintain. Identify the top 3 plastic items you use, like bottles or bags, straws, and replace them with permanent versions. You can, instead of tossing broken headphones or a torn bag today, find a YouTube tutorial or a local repair shop to fix it, or to learn how to fix it, or reuse it in another manner. Most percentage of the things we waste, whether our clothing or so, if you go online and search how to reuse this or another way this can serve you, you will be shocked at the information you actually get concerning it. So try it today. There are so many videos on YouTube that explain how so many things can be reused or used in different ways, which will serve you for a more long term. You can decide to cook a meal today using only what, or from now onwards, using only what is already in your fridge before buying anything new. Then again, you can also remove yourself from all these retail flash sale newsletters to reduce the physiological pressure to consume even when you don't even want to. So save yourself that pressure. Delete unnecessary emails. Data centers use massive energy, so digital waste is real. Never buy a plastic water bottle again. Carry your what they call it, steel bottle everywhere. That is bottle that you can use for a very long time. I think those ones are made of steel or iron. I don't really know. Never buy. Okay, you can decide to buy one high quality item that will last 10 years instead of 5 items that will just last for one season. There are clothes that you will wear them, you will be, in fact, for 8 years you still have those clothes and the quality is still the same, colors are even almost the same. So you can decide to opt in for buying those clothes. Don't say that no, some of those clothes are very at the same price range of even the ones that you buy just for a season, but just that you are not concerned about the durability. You're just only concerned on using it to flex for that moment, but it's not sustainable. You can also tag a brand on social media and ask, where was this made, and is the factory zero waste? Yes. You can also decide to use apps that allow you to check the ethical source of a product before you buy it. For your next party or event, rent the outfit or equipment instead of buying it. Yes, rent occasionally. You don't need to buy it and keep it and you're not using it for a long time. There are rentals of almost every material now everywhere. Or you rent from your neighbor or your friend and keep it safe for a return. You can decide to reduce your meat consumption. This one is not for everyone, but if you can, by 2 days a week, the production energy for meat is 10 times higher than plants. So you can also decide to find the nearest store that allows you to use your own jars and support them. The package-free grocery stores that allows you to bring your own containers to pack what you need or your foodstuffs that you are purchasing. Identify one digital or physical subscription you don't use and cancel it to reduce passive consumption. See if you can go one full week without putting any organic matter in the trash. That is taking up a compost challenge. Eliminate the paper mail, switch to solid toiletries, and audit your fridge weekly to ensure zero food waste. Email one brand you love and ask, can you provide the name of the factory where this was made? That is trying to trace it. Instead of buying a tool you will use just one time, try to rent it. You can also take your old cables or phones and so on to a certified recycler today. Choose some of the items in your closet and research the water amount required to make them. Buy your next gift or your next item from a local producer. You can also decide to your investment should not be into support of fast fashion and single use of plastic, which we can already see is no longer sustainable for us or the planet. You can propose a zero waste policy for your office, starting with the elimination of paper cups and more sustainable iron or steel cups. Donate to organizations that provide low-cost solar recycling tech to the least developing countries or developing areas. You can also decide to sponsor a school garden to help children understand where their food comes from, how it's made, and also reduce the value gap in consumption. When you travel, stay in certified hotels and leave no trace. Certified eco hotels. That is, you are trying to tourism with integrity. Join a campaign to end the subsidies for any production process that is no longer sustainable for us. You can also decide to donate some of your time to help your neighbors fix their appliances and materials and so on. Share a repair manual or a do-it-yourself sustainable project online. Make it open for others to learn and so on. You can decide to sign a global petition to move fossil fuel subsidies to renewable research and development. Organize events where people can trade their clothes, toys, and books for free. That is swap. you have this, I have this, I'm no longer using this, but I need what you have. You discover that a lot of this will be so successful because there are a lot of things people are using at home which they may no longer need that other homes or people need. So when there is an initiative like that, is very very good for the community. You can also decide to start today, learn about your global policy or your nation's policy on sustainable on food production and consumption. Also mentoring others in this area, whether sponsoring a student or if you are a CEO or something, mentoring a worker or bringing someone so close to learn about sustainable practices or the future of the food and production industry. You can also decide to join a national campaign to force electronics manufacturers to sell their parts to the public so that people not just when it has spoiled or that material has spoiled, it has spoiled, and compelling them to buy new ones and more money for the company and all of that. Let there be spare parts available to the general public. You can also decide to spend some of your hours volunteering for local environmental projects or food or and production projects. There are so many initiatives, programs that are into production of food in every aspect, whether consumption, whether transportation, whether animals, plants, soil, that need volunteers, that need workers, because most of these things are seen as long as it's not in a industry like pattern or form, it's seen like a poor man's business. So when we have a lot of people volunteering in the production line from farm to table, kind of food will be very much available. For your next community or community meeting or gathering, mandate no single-use item. That is requiring everyone to bring their own to a point whereby they either resell it or give it to a neighbor to use it or borrow from their neighbor if they need that one time use. If you sit on a school or hospital board as a director or decision maker, you can decide to move the institution to 100% of recycled paper and ethical cleaning services supplies. Support laws that require carbon footprint labels on food, just like nutritional labels. That is carbon labeling. Advocate for how much percentage of, like, for companies to show this kind of information on food labels, not just the nutritional facts and so on. If you're a business owner, find a nearby company that can use your waste as their raw material. It will be so surprising or shock for you to know that companies are demanding raw materials everywhere, and maybe your business is producing that and you just don't know, you see it as a waste. No, in this 21st century, we don't see anything as a waste. Anything can be transformed to produce another thing, or we can make things that can be transformed to produce another thing. This is the sustainability we are talking about. You can decide to start buying your electronics from companies that offer trade-in or buyback guarantees. Support products designed for everyone. If a tool is easier for an elder to use it, it will last longer and it will serve more people. There should not be any. Our tools should be available for everyone. Any tool we are making in this 21st century, this 2026 and onwards, it should be available for everyone to use. Even if when you are starting up, it's not conducive or it's not resourceful, you don't have the resources. When you start growing, when your business or your industry start growing, don't stick to one particular kind of people. Let there be all people able to access that. Just move at your own pace, but make sure that your movement is sustainable. You can also fund a student's education towards the food and production industry area. This is no more the century of seeing producing, whereby let's just say the common profession of this our food and production is farmers are seen as a very poor business or something like that. No, our young people should be educated that if everybody is running to technology, AI, who is how are they going to eat? If they look at their table, if they go outside to find food, they will not find food. So our young generations need to be educated on this sustainable production and consumption way of production of our food and so on, so that we're not just building a planet where everyone starves and we're using the latest technology, no, but whereby we have our food on the table and also our latest technology on the other hand to make things much easier. Can also decide to support indigenous knowledge, learn from and fund indigenous groups that use natural fibers and regenerative harvesting techniques. There's a lot to learn from these people. But there's a lot to learn from that your grandma or that your grandpa. There's a lot to learn from them. Maybe you grew up seeing them farm and so on, seeing them do very well, extremely well in their farming business. You should know that if you should actually look into them, find passion in it, you will do more, especially in this modern age and more advanced age. So don't look down on it, because those farmings are what provided food for you to eat, for the community to eat, and also grew the nation at large. So your ultimate action should be stewardship. Refuse to be defined as a consumer. You should be a regenerative citizen. Every choice you make is a vote for the world you live in. Every choice you make towards your consumption and towards our production systems and processes is a vote for the world we live in. Whatever we give is whatever we are going to experience. However we act towards it is what both us and our future generation is going to adapt to or experience. Your awareness action gap towards the sustainable development goal 12, responsible consumption and production closes when you realize that abundance is not about how much you have, but how little you waste. We have been trained to believe that more equals better, but our planet is telling us a different story. The earth is not a warehouse, it is a garden. In a garden, nothing is wasted. A falling leaf becomes the soil for the next flower. So you have to believe that responsible consumption and production is the highest form of our human intelligence. It's the ability for you to see the individual thread that connects a plastic bottle in your hand to a turtle in the ocean, or a fast fashion shirt to a drought in a distant land. So when you choose to close the loop, you are not losing anything. You are gaining your future. Responsible consumption and production is also the highest form of our personal integrity. So when we close this loop, when we close this gap, we are not sacrificing our lifestyle. We are perfecting it. We are moving from a world of cluster and depth to a world of utility and freedom. You have now grabbed your knowledge, discovered your role. Now go out and do your action. Stay connected to the Legacy Podcast TLP to continue to lead you through on how you can create a sustainable change. When you choose to listen, act and share this legacy, you are the engine that is making our sustainable development goal, responsible consumption and production more famous for action.